Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing great through this continuing strange time on this planet. I think I say that every time. You know what, I'm just really looking forward to 2020 being over, really. But I mean, we're just going to have to see what kind of comes from all of this and all the turmoil that's happening in the world. I hope you guys are actually doing okay. I know some of you are probably struggling, and my heart does go out to all of you. I'm trying to keep this channel relatively light. I don't really want to brush over any of the current events that are happening on this planet, just because I feel like you can go all through YouTube and find so many different kinds of content to do with what's happening, and I want to keep my channel light, really. Of course, I do love talking about the human condition, and I think during times such as this, we need that sense of connection with each other. And if we can talk about things that we can all relate to, then that's us connecting, and I think that's really important. That and also humor, but I'm not much of a comedian, so there are certainly other channels out there which you can check out that can make you laugh. I mean, I hope this video can kind of make you chuckle at certain things today. Perhaps you can relate to the things I'm about to talk to you guys about, which of course is about confessions of an INFP. What are some things that I do as an INFP that are very INFP? Well, you're about to find out, so keep watching. You know, something that's kind of embarrassing but also funny to admit is that I had read Twilight in my history class. I would not do the work and instead read Twilight. I had this friend that had sat next to me and also read the Twilight saga as well. So it was him and I sitting at the back of the class reading Twilight and not paying attention at all to any of the content that we needed to learn. Naughty. And I mean, come on, Twilight. I mean, Twilight out of anything. It could have been The Lord of the Rings or something, but no. I was one of those typical teenage girls who really loved Twilight. It is my, or at least was my guilty pleasure, so don't judge me too harshly. Anyway, the point of that is that I would often not pay attention to the things I needed to pay attention to, and instead do the things that kind of caught my interest and got that dopamine going. So whether it's like an INFP thing or an ADHD thing, it is probably an ADHD thing, let's just be honest. But I really had no interest whatsoever in paying attention to history. Another confession. I don't know if this is a confession because it's something that I'm kind of proud of, but I was the class artist and performing artist. So what would happen was when we had something creative to do in class, and this was mostly at my elementary/primary school. So when I was younger than 12, 11, when we had to draw something or create something, everyone in the class would get me to draw things for them. So instead of them doing a bad job, they'd come to me and I would draw them things, especially if it contained a horse, because I was obsessed with horses when I was a little girl, and that was just one thing I was really good at drawing for some reason. Took practice and a lot of time. I was also the person in class who, if there was auditions going on for a school play or a choir or anything that contained performing arts, everyone would point to me and say, "Lexi, that's you. You're the singer. You're the actress, blah, blah, blah." So, that's something I look back on with awe and really enjoy remembering. Trust me though, it's not like that now, and it'll come to a confession where I talk about that, so stay tuned. I was a high school loner, and this was mostly by choice. Now, yeah, I'm quite unique, so I know and understand that sometimes it's hard for people to possibly relate to me, but I did have acquaintances and I was quite friendly with everyone. I did get along with most people at school, but I did end up becoming incredibly socially selective. I wouldn't just hang out with anybody. The reason why this was the case was because I had often gotten hurt with the groups that I had joined at the start of high school. So unfortunately, I had gone through a lot of kind of difficulties in my relationships and would often not get invited to things, and then I'd think, is it me? And then in the end I just kind of thought, I really cannot be bothered wasting my time on people who don't value me for me. It's something I couldn't really help. I had this really intense feeling about it, and I could not go against that feeling. I could not change to suit the popular narrative. It couldn't work. It didn't work. So I just chose to go with it. I ended up befriending a few people, however. I wasn't a complete loner, but as I said, I was incredibly socially selective. So what happened in the end was I ended up befriending this wonderful now woman called Isabella, and she was from Hong Kong. I often befriended a lot of the international students at school because I found them incredibly interesting. I felt like they had offered a different perspective on life because they had come from different cultures, and I was so interested in learning their way of life and why they did the things they did. I studied everything at uni and then proceeded to drop out. Well, look, in my defense, I had lost my, at the time, boyfriend's mother to cancer. So it was incredibly difficult to concentrate on the things I needed to concentrate on, like school. I had also fallen into a little bit of an addiction with alcohol. Obviously, when you're young and you're experimenting, it is possible to fall into those traps. And that's what I had dealt with. So it was a very stressful time in my life. However, there has been a pattern through my life where I have undergone certain passions, had concentrated on them for a while, and then dropped them. And to this day, it's still kind of like that. However, I'm much more conscious of it and make a very conscious decision to stick to the things that I really love doing. If you're a long-time subscriber, you know that I've done everything from early childhood education to belly dancing to anthropology, theatre studies, English, everything, absolutely everything. And these are the things that I was good at. However, these were also the things that probably couldn't have landed me a job, unfortunately. But in saying that, all of these things that I have learned along the way have actually helped with my YouTube channel. So I think that's one thing that you could look at. If, say, for example, you are into something that may not get you a job into the field that you really want to go into, you will find through all of your experiences in life that you can pick up bits and bobs here and there to help you to what you're doing now or in the future. And it doesn't have to be the direct thing that you really want to do. I doubt myself. I have always doubted myself, except for when I was like 5. I think when we were all 5, we are free birds. But no, I do doubt myself. Through everything that I do, I'm always second guessing and always my biggest critic. And I think that's one very important thing to know about the INFP is that we are our biggest critics. We don't need anyone telling us the things that we are doing are wrong or not the right way, because I guarantee you we will know that already. I'm missing that childlike sense of awe and wonder that I had when I was at primary school doing all my performing arts and my arts and being the lead role in particular performances, etc. That's something that I do miss, that confidence that I had back then. And I think that's partly to do with the fact that at that point in my life, no one had brought me down or kind of poked through my ego or anything like that. And then when I entered my teenagehood, that is when I really started to experience people's judgments and how hard that was for me as a very sensitive, creative person to take those criticisms on board, or at least to deflect the ones that didn't really matter. I think there is a difference between taking constructive criticism and then to deflect criticism that is not due. It's hard for the INFP to deal with both of those things, and a lot of that is to do with my rejection sensitive dysphoria, which comes with ADHD. I have been told a lot of my life negative qualities about myself that have been drummed into me, like she's weird, she's offbeat, she doesn't pay attention, she's blonde. I mean, at the time I had blonde hair, but that was constantly told to me, like I'm a dumb blonde. And that was partially due to the fact that I lacked focus, and that lack of focus was due to undiagnosed ADHD. So isn't that funny that into my adulthood, I discovered all these things about myself, I sought myself help, and now I know what it is. Anyway, getting off track a little bit here. This is about the INFP, so INFP confessions. But yeah, I do seriously doubt myself, and I know that a lot of you guys out there who are INFP do the same. You move through life continuously doubting the decisions you make or how you act in social situations or how you perform, whether it's like in a workspace or at school, etc. The last thing you want to do is to upset anyone or to embarrass anyone or to do a bad job. You just want to be held in high esteem. You want to hold yourself in high esteem. It all really comes down to a little bit of self-acceptance, and I do have a video about self-esteem versus self-acceptance that I do plan on uploading to my channel. I'm just kind of waiting for the right time to post that one because it's, of course, going off into the human condition realm, so just wait for that one. I choose what is right over what is cool, or the popular narrative, as that's kind of like a buzzword I like to use on this channel, don't I? You know, this goes back to being at high school and being really socially selective and not really falling for what was popular. I couldn't help it. Like, seriously, I had an idea of who I was and I had to roll with it, and I could not, for my life, change that fact. Like, I just could not force myself to do something that did not align with my values. It just did not work. This fact is really prominent in the INFP personality type. You'll find that a lot of INFPs cannot go against their values in order to follow what the popular narrative is. This, of course, is due to introverted feeling and is probably part of the reason why I always get the INFP personality type, because I would say that this is probably one of the main parts about my personality that I'm both proud of and that I notice. If I have something that I want to stand up for, something that I really believe in with my entire core and being, I'm going to fight for that. And I'm not going to worry about what anyone else says about it. I'm going to fight for that because I physically can't otherwise. You find this a lot with many famous INFPs such as J.R.R. Tolkien. He had written The Lord of the Rings where he was supposed to be concentrating on teaching at university and he was a little bit distracted. But that's because he cared about what he was writing about. He wanted to explore what could have been British mythology that had not existed prior. And he really enjoyed exploring different languages that he had created out of nowhere. Another example is Princess Diana, who stood up to the royals in order to support the homelessness issue in the UK. No wonder she, I am a minimalist. Now, there are two reasons I would say as to why I am a minimalist. And one of those is because I really struggle with kind of organizing my environment. I struggle with paying attention to clutter, and at the same time that clutter stresses me the F out. Like, it's like a double-edged sword, really. Like, I don't like the clutter, but I really struggle to organize that clutter. So the answer to all of that is to live a minimalist lifestyle. You know, that's the really difficult thing about having kids, is that you can't really live much of a minimalist lifestyle because they're constantly making mess. My husband really loves to collect toys with our son, who is a huge Toy Story fan. So yeah, I'm not really exactly living that minimalist lifestyle that I do value, but you know, it's all about the middle ground. It's about compromise, and I love my family, so as long as I can put up with my bad organizational skills. I'm an empath, but I will usually put my introverted feeling first. Part of the reason why I am an empath is because of my introverted feeling. If I value something enough, I'll fight for it. So for example, if I had someone whom I valued, such as a friend or a family member, if something is happening in their life which is incredibly challenging for them, I will fight for them. I will protect them with all that I have. And that is where my empathy comes in. It is all to do with my introverted feeling and what I value in others, which is others following their path. If they're being swayed by that because of some external factor, or someone's hurting them, or something's not quite right in their life, I will do whatever I can to support that person. The catch-22, however, is where we feel like, although we love our loved ones, if they do something that goes against our introverted feeling and our values, we will usually put our values first. No offense. Though we may end up as people pleasers and as people who don't really like dealing with confrontation, behind closed doors we can be quite passive aggressive about it. And this is something that maybe I'm personally not too proud about. Like, I would rather face confrontation head on, something I need to work on. However, my point is that if someone we value does something that goes against our values, we're going to stand up for our values, even if that means it's going to be in a passive sense. This doesn't mean to say that I personally would take a selfish approach to life. Like, I totally understand, especially when you have a partner, that it's always about compromise and coming to middle grounds. You need to put your partner first in order for it to work. So your partner too needs to put you first. So in that case, it's not as though I would totally do things regardless of what my husband wants or what he thinks. I would always take his values on board too. However, it's more to do with the fact that, say for example, a friend of mine may be struggling with a certain something and I'm struggling with a certain something too. I'm mostly going to be putting my oxygen mask on first before I meet anyone else's needs. And that is because I only have a limited amount of energy. I can get really burnt out quite quickly, especially if I feel like people are taking from me. And you'll often find that, like, in parenthood, it can become quite draining when you're often meeting everyone's needs except for your own. It doesn't matter if you're a mum or a dad or whatever, you take time for yourself to recharge your battery so you can meet everyone else's needs on your time. I quite staunchly stand up for the things that I believe in, even if that may go against the narrative of other people. Sometimes it might hurt them and it's incredibly difficult for me to make certain decisions, but they do have to be made sometimes at the expense of other people. However, our prerogative is to live according to what our values are. As simple as that. So can you relate to any of these confessions that I have expressed to you? If you can, comment in the comments section. Something that I haven't covered yet, I'd really love to hear from you. But for now, I hope you have a good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys all again for the next video. Bye!